Right now, 16 Arleigh Burke-class U.S. Navy destroyers are actively deployed across the Mediterranean, the Red Sea, and the Arabian Sea. Most are involved in wars you're hearing nothing about. One already fired a cruise missile over 1,000 miles and hit a target. This is every U.S. naval destroyer currently deployed. Every single one has a story worth knowing, so subscribe and let's get into all of them. Eastern Mediterranean. 4 ships at the crossroads of everything. Since October 7th, 2023, when Hamas attacked Israel and lit the region on fire, this stretch of water became one of the most strategically loaded on Earth. Hezbollah exchanged fire with Israel from Lebanon. Iranian-backed militias hit American bases in Iraq and Syria, and the Houthis in Yemen began firing ballistic missiles and drones at commercial shipping in the Red Sea, triggering Operation Epic Fury, the active U.S. strike campaign against Houthis military infrastructure that multiple ships on this list have directly participated in. The Eastern Mediterranean is the northern gateway to all of it, and these 4 destroyers are not there by coincidence. USS Roosevelt, DDG-80. Roosevelt doesn't commute to the Mediterranean. It lives there, permanently forward deployed out of Rota, Spain, covering the intersection of Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, Syrian instability, and the Suez Canal approach simultaneously. A Flight 2A Burke, commissioned in 2,509 feet and 9,200 tons with 96 VLS cells and dual hangars, named after Theodore Roosevelt, the only U.S. president to receive the Medal of Honor and a man who believed a fleet is only useful if it actually goes where the trouble is. DDG-80 is making that point in real time. USS Bulkeley, DDG-84. Bulkeley is already confirmed in the fight. CENTCOM released footage of this ship directly supporting Operation Epic Fury strike operations, meaning those 96 VLS cells have been fired at Houthi targets. A Flight 2A Burke, commissioned in 2001, 509 feet and 9,200 tons, named after Vice Admiral John Bulkeley, who in 1942 evacuated General MacArthur from the Philippines through 600 miles of Japanese-controlled waters at night in a speedboat with torpedo tubes. MacArthur said, "I shall return because Bulkeley got him out alive." Now the ship carrying his name is putting cruise missiles into Yemen. USS Oscar Austin, DDG-79. Oscar Austin was the very first Flight 2A Arleigh Burke ever built, the prototype that convinced the Navy to spend 3 decades building dozens more exactly like it. Every destroyer on this list with permanently housed helicopters traces back to what DDG-79 established when it was commissioned in 2000, and that founding ship is still operating in an active theater in 2026, 509 feet and 9,200 tons, with 96 VLS cells. The original is still in the fight. USS Thomas Hudner, DDG-116. Pay attention to this one. In early March 2026, CENTCOM released imagery of Thomas Hudner launching Tomahawk missiles in direct support of Operation Epic Fury, a live strike on a real target inside Yemen from a destroyer positioned in the Mediterranean. Tomahawk is precise enough to target a specific building at over 1,000 miles, and when this ship fires one, something in Yemen stops existing. A newer Flight 2A Burke, commissioned in 2018 with 96 VLS cells, named after the Korean War aviator who deliberately crash-landed his own aircraft in enemy territory to try to pull his downed wingman out of the wreckage by hand, survived while his wingman didn't, and received the Medal of Honor for it. The Gerald R Ford Strike Group, the most powerful naval formation on Earth, is in the fight. The USS Gerald R Ford is a nuclear-powered supercarrier, displacing over 100,000 tons and capable of launching more than 160 aircraft sorties every single day, currently in the Red Sea and Eastern Mediterranean as part of the American response to Houthi aggression and Iranian proxy activity across the region. The 3 Burke destroyers running with it aren't just protecting the carrier, though. They're also actively launching their own weapons, which tells you everything about how the modern carrier strike group actually works. USS Winston S Churchill, DDG-81. Churchill is the air warfare commander for the entire Ford Strike Group, its Aegis system coordinating the carrier's defensive picture in real time while Houthi missiles and drones operate in the same theater, and CENTCOM confirmed it has also been firing Tomahawks during Epic Fury simultaneously. A Flight 2, A Burke, commissioned in 2001, 509 feet and 9,200 tons with 96 VLS cells, Churchill is the only U.S. Navy warship with a permanent Royal Navy officer assigned by treaty because Winston Churchill was half American and the British government requested a Royal Navy presence aboard his namesake ship forever. There is a British naval officer on a U.S. destroyer firing cruise missiles at Houthi targets in the Red Sea right now. That is genuinely happening. USS Bainbridge DDG-96. Bainbridge is the second Ford escort with its own confirmed Tomahawk launches from Epic Fury. It has its own 96-cell VLS, its own fire control, and doesn't need anyone's permission to shoot, making the Ford Group 3 simultaneous offensive platforms rather than one carrier with bodyguards. A Flight 2. A Burke, commissioned in 2005, the name connects to a moment most people remember because a previous USS Bainbridge was on scene in 2009 when Navy SEAL snipers took 3 simultaneous shots in rolling seas and killed the 3 Somali pirates holding Captain Richard Phillips hostage. That destroyer in the final scene of the movie is a Bainbridge, USS Mahan, DDG-72. Mahan captures the real deployment tempo perfectly. In early March, CENTCOM placed it securing from strike operations in the eastern Mediterranean, meaning it had literally just finished firing weapons during Epic Fury, and within days, it was repositioning with the Ford Group into the Red Sea. A Flight 1, Burke, commissioned in 2,000, 505 feet and 8,300 tons with 90 VLS cells named after Alfred Thayer Mahan, whose 1890 book convinced the United States, Britain, Germany, and Japan to build massive battle fleets and arguably contributed to the arms race that helped ignite World War I. The most consequential book ever written about sea power has a destroyer named after it firing cruise missiles in the Red Sea. USS Frank E. Petersen Jr., DDG-121. Frank E. Petersen Jr. is the Air Warfare Commander for the Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group, and on March 9th, CENTCOM released video of it firing a Tomahawk during Epic Fury simultaneously, managing carrier defense and striking Houthi targets at the exact same time. One of the newest Burkes on this list, commissioned in 2021 with 96 VLS cells, is named after the first black aviator and first black general officer in Marine Corps history, a man denied entry to Navy pilot training because of his race who joined the Marines instead and proceeded to outrank everyone who ever tried to stop him. USS Spruance, DDG-111. Spruance is the second Lincoln escort and also confirmed firing Tomahawks for Epic Fury, a Flight 2 A Burke commissioned in 2011 with 96 VLS cells, named after Admiral Raymond Spruance, whose decisions at the Battle of Midway in 1942 broke Japan's Pacific dominance permanently when the United States was massively outgunned. Historians rank him among the greatest admirals in American history, and almost universally note that he was chronically seasick his entire career. The finest naval commander America produced in World War II spent decades physically ill from the ocean he dominated. USS Michael Murphy, DDG-112. Michael Murphy repositioned from the Persian Gulf, where Iran's Revolutionary Guard operates most aggressively, to the Arabian Sea with the Lincoln Group in early March, moving to where strike access and carrier defense against Iranian and Houthi threats converge at once. A Flight 2, A Burke, commissioned in 2012 with 96 VLS cells named after the Navy SEAL, who, during Operation Red Wings in Afghanistan, walked into an exposed clearing under fire to get a signal so he could call for support for his ambushed team, was shot while on the phone, kept talking until the call connected, and was awarded the Medal of Honor posthumously. USS McFall, DDG-74. McFall is operating independently in the Arabian Sea, filling coverage gaps that no single strike group can maintain, in a theater where Iranian harassment and Houthi drone activity demand a persistent presence around the clock. A Flight I Burke, commissioned in 1998, 505 feet and 8,300 tons, with 90 VLS cells, named after Marine Gunnery Sergeant Daniel McFall, one of 241 Americans killed in the 1983 Beirut barracks bombing, one of the deadliest attacks on American military personnel in history, with the destroyer carrying his name now operating in the broader region where that attack occurred. USS John Finn DDG-113. John Finn is homeported in Yokosuka, Japan, and its presence in the Arabian Sea tells you exactly how much pressure this theater is generating, because the Navy is pulling Pacific destroyers across the world to meet the demand. CENTCOM posted imagery of it supporting Epic Fury, with watchstanders in the Combat Information Center managing the operation in real time. A Flight 2, A Burke, commissioned in 2012 with 96 VLS cells named after the Pearl Harbor sailor who ran to an exposed machine gun with no cover when the Japanese attack began on December 7, 1941, was wounded 21 times, kept shooting until the attack ended, received the Medal of Honor, and lived to 100 years old as the longest-lived Medal of Honor recipient from World War II. USS Milius DDG-59. Milius is the second Yokosuka destroyer in the Arabian Sea with a confirmed Tomahawk launch from Epic Fury, meaning the Navy has pulled 2 Pacific ships across the world specifically to fire cruise missiles at Houthi targets, which tells you exactly how broad this operation has become. A Flight 1, Burke, commissioned in 1996 with 90 VLS cells, and in April 2023, a Chinese People's Liberation Army destroyer cut directly across Milius's bow in the South China Sea at approximately 150 yards, which, between 2 warships at speed, is terrifyingly close. The U.S. called it unsafe and unprofessional. Milius held its course. That same ship is now in the Arabian Sea. USS Delbert D. Black, DDG-119. Delbert D. Black is the most mobile ship in this deployment, and the movement tells the whole story. Early February, it's in the Red Sea, where Houthi intercept operations have been running almost daily. Early March, it has confirmed Tomahawk launches during Epic Fury. By March 9th, it's in the Arabian Sea. 3 distinct operational positions inside 30 days. A newer Flight 2, A Burke, commissioned in 2020 with 96 VLS cells named after the very first Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy, the position created in 1967 to give every enlisted sailor in the fleet a voice at the highest levels of naval leadership. USS Pinckney, DDG-91. Pinckney brings something almost no other ship on this list carries, because the DDG-91 through DDG-96 block was specifically built to accommodate the Remote Mine Hunting System, a towed vehicle that detects and classifies underwater mines at safe standoff distances. Iran has a documented history of mining the Strait of Hormuz approaches and has repeatedly threatened to close it entirely, and a successful minefield there would send global oil markets into crisis within days. A Flight 2, A Burke, commissioned in 2004 with 96 VLS cells, confirmed in Epic Fury, quietly carrying that specific edge beneath the waterline for the scenario everyone hopes never arrives. USS Mitcher, DDG-57. We come to the last ship on this list, USS Mitcher, independently deployed in the Arabian Sea and one of the earliest Burkes still in active service, commissioned in 1994 with 90 VLS cells. Aegis, still tracking every threat in range because the age of the hull doesn't change what the ship can do. Named after Admiral Mark Mitcher, whose defining moment came in 1944 when American pilots were returning to the fleet in darkness, low on fuel with no way to find their way back. Every rule of wartime security said, keep the ships dark. Mitcher ordered his entire task force to turn on every light in contested Pacific waters with Japanese submarines nearby, because his pilots needed to see the way home. Some ships were lost that night, and most of the pilots made it back. Turning on the lights is still one of the most celebrated commands in naval aviation history. 16 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers across the eastern Mediterranean, the Red Sea, and the Arabian Sea, named after the sailor shot 21 times who kept shooting, the pilot who crashed his own plane to save his wingman, and the admiral who lit up his entire fleet in enemy waters so his people could find their way home. If you learned a lot from this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button so we can bring you more videos like these.